The Canberra Times, a non-Murdoch paper.
Photographs of alleged Port Arthur gunman Martin Bryant that appeared in the media had not been officially issued, Tasmanian police said yesterday.
And the Examiner.
They may well have been obtained by other means,
a spokesman said.
So, a couple of unanswered questions remain. But there's no question about a certain Fairfax editor. I refer, of course, to Peter Cullen, who rejoices in the title of Editor-in-Chief, albeit of the Illawarra Mercury. His column on Saturday was headed,
"Nothing but a bullet for Bryant."
And what followed was the sort of thing you'd hear from a lonely drunk in the corner of a public bar, raving to himself as everyone else shrank away from him.
Our system of justice demands a trial for Bryant. Why?
It's called the rule of law, Mr. Cullen. We know you're not much impressed with it.
What more do they need to prove his guilt?
Due process and the consequent satisfaction that justice had been done.
It's a strange society in which we live. A madman kills 35 people and then society goes out of its way to make sure all his rights and privileges are observed for a fair trial. Sickening, isn't it?
Cullen is a powerful argument against foreign ownership of Fairfax. Surely Conrad Black doesn't know he has an editor like that? Good night, Tim.
At 12:30 p.m, two young ladies stalled their van outside Seascape due to an overheated engine. Whilst both girls sat in the car waiting for the motor to cool down, a yellow Volvo pulled up behind them. The driver got out and spoke to the girls, and at one stage asked them if they had any marijuana to sell, which the girls then produced a sachet and sold it to the gunman for $50. Which he paid for with a $50 note. The driver then told the girls that he was going to the Isle of the Dead to kill some wasps. When the girls tried to leave the van would not start, so that this person then again reached into the van, around the battery, said, "Here's your problem, you have a loose terminal." Fixed the leads to the battery, the van started and the girls took off. This person was not Martin Bryan. Martin Bryan does not smoke, nor does he partake in marijuana. Martin Bryan does not understand the electrical systems of motor cars. And thirdly, how would Martin Bryan know that two busloads of American tourists, derogatively called wasps, would have arrived at the Port Arthur historic site at approximately 12:30 p.m. so that they could board the ferry, the Bundina, to go to the Isle of the Dead at 1:30 p.m.
He said there's a lot of wasps around today, there's not many Japs here, are there? And then started muttering to himself and then walked inside, and that's when all the gunshots started going off.
It was unbelievable.
At 10:40 a.m, two neighbours, Andrew and Lynn Simmons, were at their driveway, waiting for a car to arrive, when they heard two shots emanating from Seascape Cottage. It was these two shots, heard at 10:40 a.m, that killed David Martin. However, at this time, Martin Bryant is drinking coffee at the Shell service station at Fawcett, as per the witness Gary King. Martin Bryant was 58 kilometres away when David Martin was murdered. During the siege of Seascape Cottage, a police negotiator, Sergeant Terry McCarthy, established communications with Martin Bryant, who was calling himself Jamie. Sergeant Terry McCarthy stated it was his belief that Martin Bryant was speaking from some sort of a script. Sergeant McCarthy also established that Martin Bryant had an accomplice, who Martin called Rick. At times it appeared as though Rick was running the show, and it also became rather obvious that Martin Bryant knew Rick quite well. There were over 20 times recorded in the police transcript that shots were fired from another room of Seascape Cottage, whilst Martin Bryant was talking with the police negotiator. The gunman firing those shots could only have been Rick.
You're now hearing for the first time the voice of Martin Bryant taped by police when Bryant locked himself in the Seascape Cottage immediately after his murderous rampage at Port Arthur. And Terry McCarthy was the only negotiator to speak to Bryant for the next 12 hours.
Was there anyone hurt?
Well, I understand there's been a number of people hurt at Port Arthur.
Oh, they weren't killed.
Well, I don't know I don't know the full details. I know that somebody's been shooting at people down at Port Arthur.
I expected him to be in a highly agitated, aggressive state, or alternatively, sort of coming down and coming to terms or reality as to what he had just done. But he didn't fit either of those sort of stereotypical ideas that I had, and he was quite calm, collected, a childlike, effeminate sort of voice, and we were straight into a conversation.
Bizarre. It was quite bizarre.
I want to assure myself that everybody in there is okay. Are they all okay at the moment?
Well, I've been given a cup of tea.
You gave them a cup of tea. Where are they at the moment?
I can't see that.
Well, okay. They're okay. I take it nobody's been harmed.
I'm a double bed at the present.
Right. Nobody's been harmed?
No one's been harmed. I'm making up some sandwiches. These people have got salad and some bacon and
right.
Eggs. I want to fry up bacon and eggs for them.
At 0600 hours, the local fire brigade was put on standby at the Fox and Hounds Hotel. This was, to use Superintendent Bob Fielding's own words, as per the formulated plans for the resolution of the incident. At 0747 hours, Seascape Cottage was reported to be on fire. This fire was ignited by a flare fired by Sergeant Andrew Mark Fogarty of the Tasmania Police Special Operations Group. Superintendent Bob Fielding stated that at that stage he didn't know whether the hostage, Glenn Pearce, was still in the boot of the burnt BMW or within the house at Seascape. In other words, this is an admission that Rick could not have been the hostage Glenn Pearce. Superintendent Bob Fielding was also loath to send in the Special Operations Group as he feared there could have been a 30% casualty rate. Superintendent Fielding was prepared to let the hostages burn alive rather than risk any police lives. At 0824 hours, Martin Bryan emerged from Seascape Cottage, dressed in black, with his clothes on fire.
The concerns for me in the decision-making I had to go through was I was very mindful of the fact that there was possibly 3 people in the house. I had to decide were they alive? If they were alive, did I allow them to be burnt alive or to be consumed in the fire? Did I send the SOG in? The immediate action plan that had been presented me with a very difficult decision because their estimate of casualties was in excess of 30%. which is a huge number of police officers to lose in an assault. So I had to balance up the advice I was getting as to the likelihood of the people still being in, the hostages still being alive, or risking the lives of further people to in effect an arrest and maybe rescue the hostages in a burning house. At the end of the day, I'm satisfied that we made the right decision in fact waiting and forcing him to come to us as opposed to vice versa.